Hi, everybody. Today we are going to talk about the importance of fitness and taking your business to a completely another level and how to 10x your business through having the right health in your mind and really dialing in your health to another level. Today, I have a really good friend of mine, Morrow, on the line here that is going to be kind of explaining a little bit about what he helped put me through, and he has helped me a whole nother level, has taken me from over 196 pounds all the way down to 160 pounds and about 11% body fat right now. And it's really dialed in my health to a whole nother level. And I don't think there's anybody that I could thank more than you, Morrow. I really appreciate everything you've done for me. And I think that it really has compounded the growth of my business and taken it to a completely another level, really just given me the energy that I need to deal with problems and pushing things forward and actually being able to have the confidence to be able to do that. And so thank you so much for joining me today, bro. I really appreciate it. And can you talk a little bit about some of your experience and what you do to help men to be able to take their fitness to another level? Because you do things totally different than the fad diets and all the other crazy stuff that really just are not sustainable long term compared to what you teach, man.
Sure, man, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate that. So, yeah, I can start with where you ended with the sustainability. So I always, when someone tells me, hey, I'm gonna do this, or here's my approach, I'm very open-minded when it comes to that. Like, some people say like, oh, just this works, you have to keto or vegan or fasting. And I always believe, hey, if something works really well for you and you're seeing results and you like it, you can sustain it, great. But for most guys, that's not the case, right? So they want quick results. They make a lot of sacrifices and they work really hard and put in a lot of effort. But a lot of times the ROI is just not there, right? And a lot of times we mistake effort with effectiveness. Right. And so that is definitely one thing that we want to make sure that you're doing, not just putting in a lot of effort without a good ROI, right? It's kind of like putting a lot of money into real estate if we stay in your lane and just not seeing the returns year by year. It's like, all right, that property or that investment is losing me money, or I'm just barely breaking even. And so we want to make sure that you get a good ROI with the efforts you're putting in as well, whether it's workout, nutrition, activity, and so on. And I've found over the years the best way to do that is by starting with your blood work, right? So a lot of people just follow random routine they find on the internet, and their bro did, or their sister did, their father did, whoever that is, or friend did, right? Like, oh yeah, try this out, like the keto or fasting, or oh, like 5x5, and all great tools, but it always depends on the context and the person. And when you start with blood work, you really look at, hey, where am I at? My metabolic health, insulin, blood sugar levels, A1C levels, inflammation, my sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, free testosterone, SHBG, DHEA, and then I'm going over to thyroid hormones, and then maybe cortisol, vitamin D. There is a lot more depending on what you want to look at that we can gather and see, all right, this is my starting point. And a lot of guys may think like, oh, I don't look overweight or obese. Actually, I was just talking to a good friend the other week, and I was like, what's next? I'm happy, I have 20, 30 pounds over, but I'm happy. I don't need it. My wife loves me and I'm good. And I said, you don't want more? I said, no, for what? Like, if I was obese, then I would do a blood test. Like, it's not about that, right? It's like, yeah, maybe you're not obese or not super overweight, but who says you're optimized? Mm-hmm. Who says you're not inflamed? Your cortisol is not through the roof. Your testosterone is rock bottom. Like, you don't know you don't know. So you measure that and all right, this is good. Let's continue. This is really not so good. There's room for improvement. Let's change that, right? Like, if someone looked at you, Matt, or at me, they'd think like, all right, these two guys on this show and this interview, they look pretty healthy, decent. They're not overweight. They're not obese. How do you know I'm healthy or not?
Right. Yeah.
Just because I'm not fat?
You could be
Sure.
drinking all the time or having
Yeah, I
issues,
could be
right.
drinking, my liver, my kidneys, I could be eating too much protein, right? I mean, you need to do it extremely, but I could be eating too much of that. I could be over supplementing. I could be over stressed, under sleeping. Like there are so many things that are not taken into account when people think about full health optimization. And so the blood work gets you started there. All right, here's where you are. Here's when you need to change. You look at the data. Now you need to understand how you change that, how you achieve that result. And that's where I come in and save guys like Matt a lot of time. And we put the plan together. And then want to make sure that the plan is sustainable for the person, because the goal is not just to get the result, but to keep it.
And I think one of the biggest things, you pointed out, and you point out to a lot of people, is, hey, you could be working out 4 days a week, you could be doing a bunch of cardio, you could be, doing it, but still not be six-pack lean, still not be optimized, and having a hard time putting on muscle, having a hard time like keeping that optimization going, and really overworking yourself to a whole nother level. Even if you do feel like your workouts are dialed in and stuff like that, there's a lot of little scientific things that go into each segment of this that I think you teach about. How did you, start off? What's your background with this, and how did you learn all of this stuff in the first place? Can you talk a little bit about your background that led you to this education that you're now sharing with over 90 men now in your group that are all
100.
super happy? And I see them lost 40
Yes.
pounds, lost 20 pounds. Even some of my good friends, I'm really upset that I can't mess with them anymore because they're losing all this weight, but at the same time, like, how did you learn this stuff, and what's your background?
Yeah, a lot of it, I would say, comes from School of Hard Knocks, right?
Right.
But yeah, a lot of it is actually a real life experience, some trial and error on myself. And I used to work in banking in Switzerland. I don't have a background like as a meathead or, hey, just hit the gym 6 days a week, 2 hours a day. When I was in banking, I was working with a lot of guys senior to me, 40, 50, 60 plus, overweight, obese, not very obese like in Switzerland, but definitely overweight, fat, tired, low energy, sluggish, lack of focus, as we know, overstressed, poor eating habits. And so I saw their lifestyle day in, day out for 5+ years, just sitting in front of them, next to them in meetings, lunch. Like, if you spend 10 hours a day for 5 years with a person or with a group of people, their psychology, their archetype very, very good.
Right.
So I understood that. And I wouldn't say very overweight, but definitely got fat when I started chasing wealth and sacrificing my health and put my health on the back burner. And then I burned out, had heart issues, and at a very young age. And I knew, okay, I have to draw the line. I can't continue in this direction. And as I fixed it, I started to transition and lead more of the men I've worked with, I've worked with were my colleagues, my former colleagues, and made the shift there. So that was like the turning moment, you could say. And from there, it was constant education, whether it's reading studies, but also hiring doctors and experts like the team of, for example, Dr. Lane Norton, Lyle McDonald, Dr. Eric Trexler, like world #1 metabolism doctor. Now with over 1.5 years with Sam Miller Science for hormones, metabolism, blood work. And the education just continues and is ongoing, plus a lot of other mentorship with leadership and so on. And so that's where I gathered a lot of the elements, whether it's like the psychology part, analysis from just the banking experience, the data also from banking being very granular. If you have their rule, if you make 2 mistakes with client secrets, right, the confidential secret, you're out, right? And the thing is, if you can make 2 mistakes, the longer your career goes, the higher the risk of being thrown out, right? Because if you make 1 mistake in 1 year, then all right, if I want to stay there 20 years, like I can afford exactly 0 mistakes or I'm out.
Right.
Right. So you have to be very precise, and a lot of decisions they are made based on data and facts, and that's what I do as well today. You know it, with the food tracking, the steps tracking, sleep, all the data we track to have proper measurements. But also the blood work that came into play there to kind of put that all together. And yeah, so I wouldn't say it's just, oh, I did this or I did that. It's a combination of things all formed together, and that's where we are today.
And I think one of the things that I really appreciate about your program is the fact that, you know, when you're dialing this in on the blood work level, on an individual level by person, and then adding the specific workout routines, macro routines, and all the other things, and the walking and all those other things that go into this to then optimize you. And you have a specific program that you go through and a protocol that you go through, and it's all based on science, but also based on the education that goes into that too. So you kind of can immerse yourself into that health education, which really is what takes you to that another level, right? Is because you have to get educated slowly over time. And there's still things that I'm trying to dial in that you're like, hey, why aren't you doing this yet? It's been, you know, 10 months or 11 months now, and you know, I thought you were doing that already. And it really just takes time. Like, I think it took me 3 months to get me to do my blood work because I hate needles. Right now it's like, no, I don't want to deal with the needles. And it took me 3 months also to dial in my food and, you know, the types of eating that I can do. And the fact that you don't go through and say, no, you got to be on X diet every time, and it's this specific diet. It's eat what you want, but focus on the right macros, right? And the timing of the day and things like that that go into that specifically, and breaking
food
down
quality,
the
right?
science. Right. Yeah, exactly. And breaking down that science behind it. And, you know, what's crazy is that once you're actually understanding it, you know, as a business owner, it's all a matter of those KPIs and understanding that from a KPI perspective. And then once you're able to dial that in and it makes logical sense, then it's like, okay, now I can now start to make those changes in my own life across the board, right? And so can we dive in a little bit to some of that program? You know, obviously for me, you know, you're looking at, you know, my blood markers and that type of thing and saying, hey, I want you to now optimize your blood work and focus on, you know, these specific vitamins and these specific things that I want you to focus on. But now let's also start working on the other aspects to really optimize you, help you really massively lose weight. And, you know, one of the things that changed my mindset was you told us, hey, don't do crazy cardio like that. And go through and start walking instead. Start having a consistent lifestyle, because if you go through and start to really, you know, go crazy on the cardio, it's not sustainable long term, and you're not able to like do this as part of a lifestyle situation. And there were some other benefits and things like that that you had mentioned with regard to some of the walking versus hard cardio. Can you talk about a little bit about that, you know, science behind that and some of the functionality behind that?
Sure. So the main reason I'm against, I wouldn't say running, but more higher intensity cardio is, yes, it's more effective. So you burn maybe 2 times, maybe even 3 times the calories that you would do with low intensity cardio, such as walking. But that's only a first order consequence. And people forget there's second and third order consequence. So when you make a decision, you don't just have to look at what's in front of you, but what happens as a consequence of the consequence, and go down that rabbit hole. So people only say like, oh, I'll burn more calories. So they start running, they start biking, they start riding the Peloton, they start doing XYZ. And those are all great things. But 2 things come into place. One, are you really gonna run or bike or do, you know, those 2, 3, 4, 5 cardio sessions a week for the rest of your life? It's very rare that I meet someone who does all year round cardio for decades, right? So what happens if you stop the cardio? You regain the weight because the cardio was creating your deficit. Second thing is, when you do the cardio again, high intensity cardio, you burn more calories, but what happens after? You're way more hungry.
You're hungry
And when
again.
you're more hungry, you back eat the calories. So yeah, with walking, maybe you burn, let's say 500 calories in 1.5 hours, but you're not hungry.
Mm-hmm. You're doing that slow, steady, sustainable
yes,
reduction.
exactly. We're with biking or running or swimming, you may burn 500 calories in 30, maybe 40, 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So about half the time, maybe even less. But you'll be so hungry. And now if you overeat 2, 3, 4, 500 calories, what's the point? You just, if you say I'll do it for my heart health, that's a completely different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But we like that would be too much for today.
Mm-hmm.
Where we look more at sustainability, long-term results, body composition. And if you're doing it for that, there's no reason, right? It would be more like a last resort where you do it at the end to get rid of the really, really stubborn fat. Maybe like 12%, you want to get down to 10, 9%.
Right.
Other than that, I don't see a reason why you would do it to burn calories, right? If you can do the walking. And so going back to the first thing, where it's not sustainable for most people, where it's an extra thing to do, walking is sustainable because you can start integrating in your lifestyle. Just before this podcast interview, Matt, you were telling me you were talking with a friend or a business colleague or partner or coach, and he was taking his calls walking the forest. So
Mm-hmm.
that is that's one simple shift that anyone can make out there, and is very sustainable. And it just requires a decision. Instead of sitting on my ass all day long, when I have a phone call, I just pick up the phone and start walking in the building outside. And
Right.
if you just do that 30 minutes a day, 40 minutes a day, like the difference is just massive.
Right.
There's no reason to sit when you're on the phone. Even right now, I could be walking while being on this podcast, this interview, right?
I was really close. I was really close to doing that right now.
No, I'm getting in a lot of steps without it, so I don't need it. But if I would be, chained at my desk, like a lot of people are, and then I would at least say, all right, let me walk a little bit more and get that activity in. It's also going to be better for your mobility, your hips, your posture. So there's like tons of benefits: sunlight, vitamin D, fresh air, blood flow, blood sugar, tons of benefits that go way beyond just burning calories.
And I think that's super important, is integrating it in your life. This is why I have a standing desk, why I have a treadmill that goes right here, that if I'm sitting there kicking out emails for 2 hours a day, 1 hour of walking on 2.5 miles an hour while I kick out emails is like 5,000 extra steps, right? You do 2 hours a day like that, and you're walking 5 miles a day just right then and there. Granted, it's great to be outside in the sunlight. There's a bunch of benefits, of course, with that aspect of things, but integrating that while I'm on a Zoom video meeting or something like that, I'm walking instead, right? Yeah, I'm that guy walking on the treadmill, but people don't care, and they're like, hey, that's great. I wish they start thinking that way. And I think some of the biggest benefits for me where it was, one, in the morning time, right? Or right after I eat, it gives me that extra energy where I'm not tired anymore. And I'm, being able to digest my food better and things like that, just from the extra walking and incorporating it throughout my day. I don't get tired in the afternoons now and need a nap or something like that, even if I'm getting up at 5 in the morning and hustling hard and doing that kind of stuff. Right. And so I think that aspect of things and being able to integrate it in your life. And also, like you said, with regard to like running hard, that is mentally just draining, right? If you're like, oh, I got to run 30 minutes super hard right now, that's difficult to do versus, hey, you put a treadmill in the living room and walk for 30 minutes while you're watching TV or something along those lines. It's, hey, you're still there with the family, you're still watching TV, you're just not sitting on the couch, right? That's really the difference. And you're able to really take it to a whole nother level by being able to, go through and incorporate things into your lifestyle like that. And I think that's what I really liked about your program is, hey, talking about the workouts, for example, it's not go 5 days a week super hard like this and do that. Maybe dial it back to 3 days a week, and go to failure on every workout that you make us do. And there's little tricks, of course, to get yourself to go to failure. And when I look at this and say, hey, I'm going to work out to failure, the days that I am, some days I can't do it. I mean, I know I can, but I give up, right? And I'm not, mentally strong that day. But the days that I am, and I go to failure where I'm struggling every time, it gives you so much power that carries over into every other aspect of your life, because you've been mentally strong to be able to do those things and really kick them out to a whole nother level. And, can you talk about the benefits of going to failure on your workout? Guys like me, or that are my age, I'm 44 years old right now, and, that I don't want to go super crazy heavy, because I'm worried about getting injured, right? Those injuries last 3 weeks now. They're not gone in a week now, like they were when I was younger in my 20s. So can you talk a little bit about that failure routine and the importance of, going slow in your workouts and things like that?
Sure. So I'll start by saying that you don't need to go to failure to every workout to see progress, depending on your workout schedule. So I wouldn't say it's like a standard. However, or let me say like this, if you work out like 4, 5, 6 days a week, like that means you have a lot of volume. And if you have a lot of volume, your intensity shouldn't be so high. Still high enough, but not like crazy high. But if you're working out like 2, 3 days a week, that's like a low volume workout. So if the volume is low and the frequency is low, there's only one thing that can be high, the intensity. And the whole reason guys come to me is like, they don't want to spend days at the gym, 4, 5, 6 days a week at the gym, 7 days a week. They actually want to be less at the gym and are short on time and want to see results quick. So the whole reason why we shifted then to like 3 days is because, okay, you can get in 3 workouts, really hard, really brutal, but it works. Where if you say, hey, I want to live at the gym, then we can always have a look at that. I still don't recommend it. You can do a lot of other things, but if someone really wants it, then yes, you have to adjust it at the intensity. I just wanted to set that as a pre-frame or frame to that, or give some context before people say, oh, you don't, this study showed it. Like, yes, but the study always depends on the context. So now going back to failure, right? If you train 3 times a week, you have to load up that intensity. And studies show that if you train to failure or close to failure, that's where the adaptation happens. That's where you put stress on your muscles. When the muscle is stressed, it's like, all right, there's stress, there's damage. I need to get stronger for the next time. So you get stronger by stress, and that's ultimately what leads to muscle growth, given your nutrition is dialed in, your sleep, like, because the muscle doesn't grow when you're working out, it grows after, during recovery. And so going back to that failure thing, that's one of the reasons there. The other reason is also, when you train to failure, you change yourself mentally to a whole new level where you think, hey, this is not possible, but your mind is able to overpower your body, where your body's like, I can, yes, you can, yes, you can. You get more out. It's like, wow. And so you got more out, and that's where you see progress quicker in your body composition. And now you think, wow, if I was able to do this and push myself there, even half a rep, quarter rep, 3/4 rep, 1 rep, what can I do in my business to excel there? And I've had a lot of guys, we did a workout together, and they're like, oh, I can. Yes, you can. And they would stop like at 8, 9 reps, and I'll get another 6 reps out of them. They're like, wow, I never thought. And now most people don't know what true failure is. And so when you really push yourself, that's where the growth happens, right? If you always stay in that comfort zone, you can imagine that the muscle, like think about a business, right, that never has extra work. You won't hire extra employees. So only if you have like extra load, you will hire more people, depending on the scenario, but you will hire, in that case, more people to make this point. to help you with that extra load, with that extra work. And so if you never do that extra work, those extra reps at that high intensity, why should your body recruit, right?
Right.
More.
And I think that's key to understand is, you know, pushing yourself like that to that failure is really what, you know, if you look at this from a business perspective too, those extra things that you do, that daily little bit of extra work, that pushing yourself a little bit to get out of your comfort zone carries over so much into the business side. And what's cool is that you've actually built a mastermind around this. And I still remember, you know, we going down to Cancun for your mastermind event, and you had us doing a plank challenge, and I was able to get like a 5-minute plank going, and that was crazy. My whole body was shaking, and I didn't think that I could actually do that. And you taught us the true meaning of the word failure in that routine by, you know, showing us those types of things to be able to push forward on. And, you know, it kind of gives you that extra energy that can carry forward into your business side as well, which is just massive. And I think I've, you know, made more money just from your group alone, just because they're all entrepreneurs, business owners, and people like that I've gotten to work with in different ways that have really, you know, pushed my business across the board. And all the like-minded people that are there to be able to help you in your fitness journey as well as in the business side. Everybody just wants to improve and get better. And I think that is really what spills over from having the right health and the right, you know, focus on your health to be able to give you the energy to do it, but also the mindset to be able to take it from the workout routine to the business and every other aspect of your life, right? And it was really cool. One of my biggest whys of doing this was to get my family more involved in health focus and things like that too, which has actually happened massively. And you want to lead by example with your entire family as a whole, so you can all live longer across, you know, and be able to, you know, excel in your lives, and everybody's happier across the board. One of the things that I think is super important that you focus on a lot is the consistent ongoing education. And you're not just focusing on, you know, hey, your meals and hitting your macros in your meals, but also the meal timing on these things. And you're not just focused on the workouts, but you're also focused on other things like the importance of sleep and stress reduction for your optimization. Can you talk a little bit about those, you know, auxiliary things that go into your overall health as well?
Sure. Yeah, and like what you said, that I don't just focus on like, here's what you need to do and do it. For me, it's important, you know, that I don't just give you the how to and the what. Like most coaches, even in business, they would say, do this, right? Like post content, do cold outreach, do cold calling, whatever it is, run ads, and here's how to do it. And that's certainly great to get started. But for me, it's also important to help you shift how you think and start making decisions like I do them. So I plug and play my brain into your brain, or part of it. You don't want some of this into your brain. And that will help you, or that will allow you to see the why. So by showing you, hey, here's why we do it, you understand, like, oh, why? Okay, this is why, right? And the why reinforces the what and the how.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, the little extras that you put out there. I think you had, you know, a training the other day with regard to optimizing your environment. And it was those little things like, hey, your water bottle that you drink out of, it's hard to tell what your total metric is. And I went and bought a water bottle to make sure I hit my entire gallon a day of water. And it's like, here's your daily intake, and it has time on there during the day. And just that focus alone made me change my entire mentality of how much water I drink, because 90% of us are just dehydrated most of the time. And, you know, realizing the importance of that water intake and the importance of having, you know, a meditation break and things like that to like increase your energy and focus across the board, and with regard to the stress reduction and the effects that stress and proper sleep can have on, you know, your testosterone levels, for example, and your blood work and that type of thing, which is, you know, crazy when you look at your environmental factors and focusing on what is your total REM sleep throughout the night, which is really where you do the most repairing to your body. And, you know, those things have been absolutely key for me. And I think that's one thing you focus on massively, because there's so much that goes into your environment with your health, not just working out and that kind of thing, right? So can you talk a little bit about the macro side of things and why you focus on, you know, meal timing and the macros and the importance of those things?
Why the macros and the meal timing?
Yeah, so can you like why? So I think one of the things I was doing is I would go eat a giant bowl of fruit in the morning time because I thought, hey, that's healthy, right? I'm getting good carbs in. I'm, you know, gonna have energy and things like that. And you had me switch that mentality up and saying, hey, maybe you should be eating more fats and proteins in the morning versus the carb intake right away, or for your first meal. And what's the reasoning why you were mentioning those things?
So if we should go on with the meal timing, like there was a study that they've done, I don't know when it was, but they did a study and they found that those who started the day with, or there were two groups, and they ate the same calories for breakfast. I think it was like 500 calories. And group one, they ate granola. Yeah, they ate granola for breakfast and 500 calories. And group two ate steak and eggs for breakfast. By the way, it's not like a page for keto or anything.
Yeah.
But they ate a steak and breakfast for steak and eggs for breakfast. Same calories. Now group one with the granola got hungry 2 hours later. So they both ate at 8 a.m. 10 a.m. granola group was like, I'm hungry, I gotta eat. Steak two. Group two with the steak and eggs. 2 p.m.
Hours, 2 p.m.
I think it was
okay.
1 or 2 p.m. Maybe got it wrong. Maybe it was 12, but like way later in the day. I think it was like 5 hours or so, 6 hours.
Okay.
So why is that? People say like, oh, it's just calories. Like, yes, for fat loss. But what people forget is meal timing will allow you to naturally eat less if done right. So when you eat carbs in the morning, which is what we've been told, then your blood sugar goes up. And when your blood sugar goes up, your body will release insulin to lower those blood sugar levels. And when you lower those blood sugar levels, they go down. And when they go down, you get tired and you're hungry, you have cravings. So when you're tired, right, you can't focus at work. You want those afternoon naps, right? Post-lunch slumps where you lose off productivity, you don't have mental clarity, and you're hungry. You think about food, you start to snack, you eat fruits, more carbs, right? And so on. Where you have protein and fats, which is what the steak and the eggs are, no carbs, then what's going to happen is your blood sugar is very stable and your energy is stable. You have no hunger, no cravings, crystal clear mental clarity. It's a lot easier to stick to the plan. Then as the day goes by, especially in the evening, you can back cycle the carbs. You don't need to go into too many details here. I don't know if you're watching like the first time this, or the first time you hear about this, you think like, yeah, that guy's crazy. It's not going to happen. You're not going to burn it off. I'm going to get fat and obese. Yeah, try it out and see what happens. But calories controlled, you flip that, you back cycle the carbs, huge difference.
And I think, you know, what I really love about your what you teach is the actual science behind it. It's always based on studies and what you're finding out there. And, you know, it's a lot about tracking KPIs, just like you would in business, right? You're tracking how much your water intake is on a daily basis. You're tracking how many steps you take on a daily basis. You're tracking your macros, and not just, you know, how many calories, but how much calories as far as protein, carbs, and fat intake consistently. You're tracking your blood work and things like that. And and been able to track your sleep, and every aspect of what you're doing is based on that tracking. So it's always in your head. It's like, you know, I'm a CPA. I think about tracking your financial situation and your budget. The more you have it in your head, the better you're going to be about your spending habits, about, you know, your budgets and versus your actual and all of that kind of stuff. And so I can relate it to math, which is what I love. And so, you know, being able to understand those things from a KPI perspective really helps you to be able to excel at them and be successful at that. And, you know, as a business owner, I know when I had all that extra weight, something was missing in my life. Something was off. I was tired all the time. It's hard for me to go 100 miles an hour at work and then be tired for the kids when I, you know, want to go in and, you know, be done with work and still wrestle with them and have that time. And, you know, from the family situation, being able to focus directly on the kids, as well as being able to, from a business perspective, having the energy to deal with problems and take that to the next level. And then from the workout situation, pushing through those hard things, like when you're going to failure, it just, all these things really make you excel in all of the other aspects of your life, in business and personal. And that's what I think is the massive benefit about focusing on these things. And so many people teach the wrong things out there and the wrong way to do things with these fad diets, or working out really, really hard 5-6 days a week constantly, which is really not sustainable long term if you really want to make this a lifestyle change, right? So this has been, you know, absolutely awesome, Morrow. I really appreciate your time today with being able to go through these things with me and understand them and help everybody else out. So if anybody's interested in contacting Morrow, just go ahead and, you know, reach out to us, and I'll go through and get you a referral over to Morrow so that he can talk with you guys and see if you guys might be a good fit for his program. If not, these are some of the main things that you should be focusing on when you are, you know, optimizing your health, and some of the benefits for, you know, your health when it comes to business. So thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate it, Morrow. Thanks for all your time today.
Thank you so much for having me on. This
No
is
problem.
great.
Do you want to learn how to create financial freedom in your life through real estate and take your investing business to the next level? If so, you can follow us in one of the following ways. First, you can take one of our free webinars on how to analyze property, how to raise capital for real estate, and how to market and find deals. 3 of the key pillars to becoming a successful real estate investor. Number 2, you can join us on our mailing list, where you'll get tips and tricks on real estate investing directly to your inbox. And number 3, you can take our 6-month real estate course that teaches you every aspect of real estate investing you can think of, and more importantly, create financial freedom in your life through real estate investing strategies that I teach. If you want a master's in real estate in 6 months, this course is for you. We're going to go over how to raise money, promissory notes, syndications, fixing and flipping, buy and hold investing, tax and legal structures, self-directed retirement accounts, financial education, how to run a business, how to market and find your deals, and most importantly, how to create that financial freedom in your life so that you can stop trading your time for money and create passive real estate cash flow that you can live off of. If you're interested, go ahead and click on one of the links below, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side.